entrepreneur Ethan King in the studio with us. Ethan, congratulations, my friend. Ethan has just published a book entitled Wealth Beyond Money, Unlocking the Six Dimensions of Success for Richness in Every Area of Your Life. Ethan's a keynote speaker. He's an entrepreneur, has successfully launched and managed for a long time multiple seven-figure brands, and in his generosity, everything Ethan does and creates for himself, he successfully bottles it up and shares it with the world. And one of the things he did, he transformed himself from a flabby dad to a six-pack dad. And he decided to share that with the world. So he helps busy middle-aged parents achieve similar results. And using science-based methods, Ethan helps high performers just like you design a life they really desire in every area. Ethan, it's so great to have you back, my friend. Good morning and welcome.
Hey, good morning. It's great to be back.
Great to have you, man. You pose a significant question, right? What must you sacrifice for success? And for many of us entrepreneurs, it seems like there's this conundrum that we can't avoid, right? That our level of success seems to be a function of what we're willing to sacrifice or not willing to sacrifice. So the key question I'd love for you to dig into as you begin to introduce us to the dimensions and the principles of your work, is sacrifice really necessary, Ethan?
There's a saying, you can't have your cake and eat it too. But what good is a cake if you can't eat it, right? So we don't want to sacrifice anything. But I'll tell you the genesis of this question for me. It started about 8 years ago. I was fascinated by this story I read about a gentleman named Paul Castle. And he's a multimillionaire, successful real estate tycoon in the UK. He was even friends with Prince Charles. He had it all going for him, as we would all believe. But then one day, at the young age of 54, he decided to step out intentionally in front of a subway train and take his own life. Yeah, very shocking. So it makes you think, what would drive someone to do this? Someone who you think has it all. And we've seen it countless other times, right? With celebrities like Prince, Michael Jackson. And while they didn't do the same thing, they left us at a very young age. And they were immensely talented people. Robin Williams is another example. So when we hear stories like this, it has a tendency to create this thought in our mind that, well, you can't have it all. Like if you excel in one area of life, you're going to be missing out. You have to give up something else. If you achieve great financial success, you have to give up your health and fitness, or ignore your relationships or your marriage in order to attain that. And I believe that that's completely false. I believe that you actually can have it all, and there are plenty of people who do it. So I set out on a mission to research this. And I came up with a model called the Six Dimensions of Success. And again, this was about 8 years ago, and I applied it to my own life. And the six dimensions of success are your spirituality, intellect, money, your physical presence, your love and relationships, and entertainment. And the key here is to throw out those old notions of life balance, because life balance just doesn't work. If you think about life balance or balance, the word balance, period, it implies, you think of like a seesaw or scales, right? So with a seesaw or with scales, one side has to be down in order for the other side to be up. They can't, or at the best, they might be balanced, but then they're both average, right? They're both kind of mediocre. So that's why balance is flawed, because I know people who follow this channel here, they don't want mediocrity. We want it all, right? We want the best in every area of life. So what my book is about taking a different approach. And there are scientific ways that you can excel in every single one of those areas, the 6 dimensions of success. And my book goes through not just examples from real life, like my peers. I'm around a lot of ambitious, money-driven entrepreneurs, and I see the detrimental path that they're on. You can't go back in time and go to your son's Little League game when he's 26 years old, right? So we have to figure out a way to do it all now. So what you'll learn from this book and what I go into in detail is how to reprogram your subconscious, because the S part is not just for spirituality. A lot of times when people hear the word spirituality, they tend to think religion, and that's not what it's about. It could be part of it for you, but it's really about your inner game. It's about your subconscious restructuring. It's about your self. I is for intellectual improvement and implementation. So it's about feeding your brain with knowledge, applying information you learned. And we go through steps in the book where you learn how to absorb and apply more knowledge, so that you can grow your business, grow your physical and all other areas of your life. The M is for money mastery. That has everything to do with like material wealth. Anything dealing with your business, your career, or financial investments falls in the money mastery category. P is for your physical presence. And this doesn't just relate to your health, but your fitness and nutrition, also your outward appearance, the way that you groom and dress yourself, the way that you present yourself. And this is where Sorrel mentioned in my introduction some of my six-pack dads and six-pack moms. Those are some of the programs that we go into deep in this area. L is for your love and leadership. And the focus here is on your relationships, and not just romantic relationships, but with your family, your friends, partners, coworkers, and employees, team members, but how to keep those relationships thriving and solid. We give you actionable steps for that. And lastly, E is for entertaining experiences, because you could have it all in the other 5 categories, but you could still be bored out of your mind. So it is vitally important that you intentionally design or participate in fun experiences to create lasting memories. For example, I just came back from an amazing trip to Alaska where we saw the Northern Lights. We slept in these luxury igloos, and it was just a once in a lifetime thing. And it's important that we intentionally design those experiences in our lives.
So Ethan, that spells simple.
That's right.
For spirituality, intellect, money, physical presence, love, relationships, right? Mm-hmm. And now that's inside of a really big promise that anyone and everyone can have it all, but not have it all in one area while sacrificing the other, but have it all in every area of life. What are some of the principles you've found essential in actually living that kind of simple life?
Yeah, so you have to go into this with the right mindset, and I've dissolved it into some foundational principles. One of the first thing you need to understand is that there's this thing called the law of polarity. And what that means is everything that happens in your life is both good and bad. It's equally good and bad. Even if you imagine the most horrible thing that could happen, there's something good that came from it. So we just have to tune our minds to look for the good in things. And then we realize that, as they say in Paulo Coelho's book, The Alchemist, that the universe is conspiring for you, not against you. And in my book, I go into some areas like where we've been through some crazy, tough times in our business, things that seemed completely unfair, that came out of the blue. And when you're going through it, it's hard to see the good in it. But on the other side, I realized that those struggles, that suffering actually catapulted my success. You can turn your trauma into triumph. So first you have to go into life with that mindset. The second thing is eliminate the lukewarm. So one of my favorite books is by a guy named Derek Sivers. He says, and he likes to put it this way: it's either hell yeah or no. That's his decision-making framework. If he's not super enthusiastic about it, like heck yes, I want to do this, then he'll just say no. So if you apply that to everything in your life, like how many times do we say yes to things that we really don't even care that much about if you think about it? And then you invest, you only get time. Time is the one non-renewable resource. And how much time do we spend doing things that if we really examine that thing, you're just really not that into it. You're doing it for someone else, or maybe you're doing it it's because of consistency bias, and you've been used to doing it, and you're like, I need to keep doing this thing. How many TV shows do we watch, spend hours watching that you really kind of about, or sports games where you're not even a fan of either team, and you just spent 4 hours watching the game? What else could you have been doing? Apply it to your diet. One thing I did in my life is I read this book about gluten and the harmful effects of how food is processed these days in the factories. And I decided to try going gluten free. This was in 2012. I said, well, I'll try it for 3 weeks, see how I feel. And I realized that for me, it wasn't that much of a deal breaker. I didn't love bread that much, and it didn't impact my life that much to give it up. But the results were tremendous. It helped me lose a ton of weight. It helped me think more clearly. So that's eliminate the lukewarm. Hell yeah or no. Apply that to everything in your life. The next principle is if someone else has done it, you can do it too. We all breathe the same air. We all have blood running through our veins. It amazes me how people think that someone just has these advantages in life because of certain things. I refuse to believe that. Now, of course, people are genetically different. For example, if I'm about 5'8", if I set out and said, well, I wanted to be the next Kobe Bryant, am I able to make that happen? Well, first of all, I have to have the desire. Like, honestly, I'm really not that good at basketball. But if I really, really, really wanted to be a pro basketball player, what I would do is study all of the other 5'8" NBA players, because there have actually been a lot of them in history. And I would figure out what did they do to become the basketball stars that they are, hire the best coach, and devote my life to training. And I know that I could do it too. Now, I'm choosing not to do it, but I could do it. So it's a switch in your mindset. There is nothing that any human has done on this earth that I couldn't do as well. And the same for you. The next principle is to think and, not either or, but and. A lot of times we're faced with a choice and we tend to think, well, which one should I do? What do I have to give up here? But instead, let your first option be, how can I do both? Because there's usually a creative way that you can do both things you want to do. The next principle is attract, not chase. If you think about chasing things in life, usually that thing is going to run away from you, right? So instead of and this applies to everything in relationships. If you are trying to pursue a certain type of relationship and you're just chasing, the other person can sense that desperation. So instead, transform yourself into the person you need to be that will be attractive to the mate that you're seeking. So that's just one example, but it also applies to business. It also applies to fitness and everything else. And the last principle is that there are no rules. So it's funny, I'm giving you these rules, but really the last rule is that there really are no rules. Now, most things in life are made up. They're just made up by people just like us, no smarter than us. They just made up these rules a long time ago. And I'm talking about like cultural rules and expectations. And we all have them in our families. Like maybe it's you have to get married before you have kids, or you need to do this before that, or we never do this, whatever it is. Just because you were born with those learning those expectations in your household doesn't mean that it's actually hard, fast rules. Now, I'm not saying go out and break the law. Those rules are in place for a reason. I'm talking about like cultural expectations, family expectations that shape how we think, our expectations around money, our expectations around what we eat. If you just look at it through the lens of someone before me just kind of made this up, then you realize that you can bend the rules and make them fit whatever your goals and your desires are. So those are the foundational principles to have it all in the 6 areas of life.
Ethan, your book is chock full of personal stories, war stories about your business and war stories about your life. I'd love for you to share one with us. But before we go there, save that for the end, right?
Okay.
Before we go there, I want to see what others are hearing and what questions they may have.
Well, I already love this book. I love the whole entire thing. I'm completely attracted by this, by the way in which you, and what's the right structure, the opportunity of the
six dimensions of success.
I love it. And if you don't mind putting the link so we can go get the book, it's fascinating. I really love it. Now, one thing I really love that also Tara put in the chat, I love that creating my life in the context of it's either hell yeah or no.
Right.
I love it. Hey, you want to do this? Let me see. Is it a hell yeah or just a yes? No, it's a yes. No, I'm not doing it. I love that. That was really great. Now, I don't want to continue on this, but just a quick question. And then if anyone else has a question or a comment to chip in. So you said, in some degree, the journey of this book started 12 years ago. Is that what you were pointing to? And then, Ethan, what happened? What was that crucial event that says, okay, I got all this going on 12 years ago. I'm just going to write the book right now. What was the thing that made it be, of all the things I got going on, my 2 brands, all of this, 6 packs, let me just write this book. What was the thing? What happened?
Yeah, that's a great question. And to be completely transparent with you, so over the past decade, I file away these thoughts in like a Google Doc. So I keep just kind of to myself, personal, organized. I do speaking engagements, and I teach things in my courses. But one of my business coaches, and you guys know I'm a big believer in having coaches. If your coach doesn't have a coach, you need to get a new coach. So one of my business coaches said, well, here you are, you're trying to do all this speaking and you want to make a huge impact on the world. Nobody's going to take you seriously until you've published a book. And I said, man, you know what? Like, he's right. Like, I look at all of the big names that I have a lot of respect for, and if you look at the, success leaves clues. So if you look at the patterns, they've all written a book. So I said, you know what? I have this outline. I have this framework. I have videos. I have courses. I have all the materials out there. Let me just buckle down and publish this book. And then that will be a platform to continue my journey in sharing and impacting the world. And it's a more digestible form that I can, send people to. We're going to be selling the book for $1.99. So, it's not like I'm trying to make money on it. So the point is to impact as many lives as possible. So I really just buckled down on, it was around Thanksgiving of last year. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to make it happen. Sitting at my desk 12 hours a day until the book was completed and sent off to the editor.
No, thank you, Ethan. Thank you. Tara.
Good morning. I just wanted to chime in quickly, Ethan, and thank you. I have to sign off a few minutes early, so don't take it as a negative, but your simplicity and these simple rules are beautiful. And then the last one, I mean, you got me at, I'm innately a rule breaker. And so that was just magical that you threw that in. It was just simple, clear, and then it gave you some flexibility to do your thing. So thank you. Great stuff. Tara. Congratulations.
Thank you so
much.
You
now have permission to be a renegade, Tara. Go for it.
I love it. There are no rules.
So yeah, Ethan, this is all great. The rules are simple, and you pointed to the trials, and you pointed to the obstacles. You pointed to some of the suffering you went through. There was a moment when you probably said, man, why am I doing this? And you felt like giving up, yet you didn't. Close us off with a snippet of that view, because, you look great. You've got a 6-pack. You run 2 businesses that are 7 figures, and people are thinking, yeah, Ethan says if someone else has done it, I could too, but maybe I can't. So bring it down for us.
Yeah, man. And see, the thing is, I've had trials in every single one of those 6 areas. I've been broken, and I realized that there was a turning point, and I came out on the other side. And I could choose one of the areas, for purposes of this call, since you brought it up. A lot of people have this misconception that I was just like born in shape, and I just genetically have in great shape and look young. And I'm like, no, I went through a lot to get here, and I wasn't even athletic until age 30. That's when I even started exercising. The reason that I started is because I was gaining weight. As a child, I had asthma. I could barely run a mile. I was never athletic playing sports. I looked down at the scale one day and I couldn't see my feet, and I said, I need to do something about this. And in my family, people were starting to have some real medical issues, and I was in my late 20s, and it just I said, I've got to make a change. So I started running. My brother talked me into running a race, the Peachtree Road Race. And now Peachtree Road Race is a 10K, it's 6 miles. And remember, I could barely run a mile without losing my breath. But that pushed me, and he held me accountable to finish the race. And then I went to the doctor. The doctor said I had high cholesterol and that I had high visceral fat. So they taught me how to do high intensity interval training. And I learned how to burn fat, how to maximize my fitness in the minimum amount of time. So long story short, in doing all these things to save my fitness, I ended up with a 6-pack that I had never had before in my life and didn't even think it was possible for me to ever have. And so that is the journey that I teach to other people, because I truly mean, if I can do it, you can do it too. One of the things I talk about in the book is we all have a 6-pack. It's just buried underneath layers of fat that we've built up over time. It's just about revealing it and strengthening it. And that's a metaphor for our mindset, for our life. We all have the proverbial 6-pack in our business. We all have the proverbial 6-pack in our relationships, in our bank accounts. It's just about removing the layers of lies we've been told, and in the mind, changing our mindset to reveal that 6-pack so we can have optimal health in all of the 6 dimensions of success.
Man, that's just the perfect way to close this off. And on the Daily Huddle, time flies, Ethan. Thank you so much for being here. And to each of you watching, you can follow Ethan at ethanking.com to follow Ethan and learn more.
And Ethan, what is your last comment for today?
I want everyone here to remember that you are more powerful than you think. You are a creator, made in the image of God, in the image of the universe, whatever you believe, but you were made in the image of the creator. If you think about yourself being a little flame that came from the master flame, and you have very similar properties of that master flame, you are more powerful than you think. You can create your own life. You can design your own life. You can have it all without having to sacrifice anything that matters.